Okay, so this is me in my not whispering mode, and welcome everyone. My name is Edith Balázs. I'm the head of the editorial team at BrokerChooser, and I will be your host today. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this panel discussion on online investment scams in Europe. Listen, I'm sure all of you received one of those emails, where they say you have won the lottery or you inherited a huge fortune from an unknown relative. Well, the sad news is that scammers these days are a lot more sophisticated and advanced, and we are here to tell you and show you what we mean by this. But before we jump in, I just want to quickly share a few housekeeping rules with you. This is the part about fastening your seatbelt, opening the window blind, etc. No, but jokes aside, we have set aside 45 minutes, and we will be chatting for about 20 to leave plenty of time for questions and comments. So if you have any questions during the webinar, just use the Q&A button, which is at the bottom of your screen, and send them in. We will be answering the questions live. Oh, and just a heads up, this whole webinar is being recorded, so put your pencil and paper away, and no need to take notes. Just grab a cup of coffee and enjoy. You are not seeing and you will not see the other participants, and the others will not see you either. Only the panelists are visible. And speaking of the audience, I just want to tell you that we have key players from the investment industry joining us today, including members from financial market regulatory authorities, NGOs specializing in finance, and brokerage firms. Basically, that's about the housekeeping rules, and I would like to move on now and present my colleagues who will be the panelists today. First up, we have Tibor Bedő with us, our very own CEO and co-founder of BrokerChooser. If I had to say one sentence about Tibi, he's a visionary but very strict captain of the ship. He's always nudging us to dream big, set the bar really high, and of course, deliver. So yeah, that's Tibi. Next up, we have Linda Salai, who's a strategic advisor and squad leader at BrokerChooser. She juggles quite a few projects across the company. Let me just give you a few examples. She's involved in building an AI-powered assistant for our users, and she's also driving projects to increase BC's brand recognition and global visibility. So yeah, she's got her hand in quite a few cookie jars. Dan Shalai is our marketing director and SEO specialist. If I want to keep it simple, I would say that Dan's expertise is the reason you can find BrokerChooser and our content on Google. It's pretty essential stuff for us. And last but definitely not least is Zoltán Kormányos, General Counsel at BC. He's really well versed in capital markets law and regulation, but in addition to that, he has a very deep understanding of crypto networks and is passionate about fighting scammers. I mean, you should really see him when he starts and when he gets going. So together with my colleagues, we are going to draw the curtain back on our latest research on investment scams in Europe. And I mean, looking at BC, some of you may wonder, why we decided to embark on this research in the first place. Well, there are two reasons. First off, we see the systemic risks that scams pose to investments in general, and this is the professional reason. But really, there's a lot more than that behind our motivation. We receive emails, way too many emails, which are cries for help from scam victims. And I mean, these are real people with real stories, and these stories are heart-wrenching. So that's why we decided to pull our data and skill sets together and fight scams wherever we can. Okay, I think that's it from me. I will pass it on to Tibi now, who will give you a high-level overview of the key findings in the research, and then together with my colleagues, we will go deeper into the details. Tibi?
Yeah, Edith, thanks a lot for this introduction. You said the visionary, strict, and efficient. I think I'm going to capitalize now on the efficient part. So thank you very much for joining. As Edith said, I like efficiency. So we summarized the whole session into 2 minutes. So if you only have now 2 minutes, I will give you now the executive summary, what we will talk about now. So BrokerChooser, we have a database where we track 30,000 investment fraud entities. We are able to identify which of these fraud entities are targeting EU clients and how much. So the intensity is also in our knowledge. We identified 67 scammers, which are the most searched for. So these are the ones which are clients or people who got scammed are really interested in. So, and the most popular ones are immediate edge, pocket options, and quantum AI trading, and you will see the top 10s. And the title of this webinar is Unmasking Evil. So we really believe in it. That's why we are practically naming the companies which we know are scams, and we measure that they target clients. We also know from our research that these fraudsters do not target all EU countries equally. And there's a concentration in Germany, France, Poland, Italy, and the Netherlands. So they are targeting these countries. And we have a proposal, and the proposal is about prevention. And when we talk about prevention, it's on two fronts: to inform people, to help investors gather information better before they potentially get scammed. And the second one is change. So change search engines, change advertisement platforms, and change web hosting. So these are all recommendations. And I'm reaching out to you to collaborate with BrokerChooser to protect the European investors. We can cooperate with co-signing or document, boost public awareness, and lobby for change. So this is the summary. And let me continue now, maybe with an introduction. If I want to introduce BrokerChooser, we're practically a broker comparison site, and we're a for-profit company, but we're not doing this for profit. We're doing this because we hate scams, and it's bad for the industry and bad for people. So what we do, we test more than 100 brokers. When I say brokers here, I mean trusted brokers. So imagine the Charles Schwab, imagine the Fidelity, imagine those brokers which are regulated, and we compare them. BrokerChooser is not EU focused. We are globally present everywhere. We rolled out BrokerChooser in 57 languages. Here you see the language selector, which is just a visualization that we're truly global. We're independent and unbiased, meaning we really test these brokers, I mean the good guys, and we really rank them. And we also believe in that we should protect people from scammers, and we do a lot on that. Here's one of my favorite example from the tools which we have. Here you see a scam broker. It's Pocket Options, and we have this Chrome extension which you install. And if you venture on a fraudster page, which we know these 30,000, this pop-up will practically will pop up. This pop-up will pop up. That sounds great. The pop-up will pop up that practically warn people that you're on a scam page. And this is also like a pro bono stuff, and this stuff do a lot this kind of stuff. And if I want to venture further and just highlight how we came here, is that because we really hate scams. And I'm personally invested in fighting against fraudsters. So what we did is we aggregated more than 20 regulator warning lists, right? So we got the best regulators from the world. We checked their warning list, and we aggregated that into one database. And we tracked these 30,000 investment fraud entities, right? So we check them because they're on the warning list, and we unmask them. We make an article about all of them, and you will see these articles. The articles are like, is I don't know, Pocket Options is a scam, and we say yes, it's a scam. and we're saying it really, really explicitly because that's what helps people. And with this effort, we are making a huge impact. Roughly in a month, 150,000 people come to BrokerChooser to these kind of pages, and they see like if they have doubt about a company, they will see explicitly on BrokerChooser that it is a scam. And we're also able to measure the magnitude. What I mean with magnitude, the regulator warning list has a lot of companies, but some of them are much more dangerous because they're reaching much more many people. And with our data, we're able to measure which of these companies are the most harmful, right? And we're also developing recommendations, what we think as an industry participant think could help investors. If you want to dive into specifics of this report after the meeting, feel free to download it. And I also wanted to thank here Better Finance, who really helps us to spread the word here. But that would be my intro. Edith, what do you think?
Thank you very much, Tibi. Just to set the record straight. So what you're saying here is that we leverage our data and we take these 30,000 scamming entities. We are able to pinpoint the 67 that are the most active in Europe.
Exactly.
So naming names and identifying specific countries where these issues are the most pressing. What do you think, Tibi? This will surely help people who are and entities who are in a position to do so to wage a more targeted fight, right?
Well, exactly, and this is not something which anyone else has on the market. For this, you really need to gather info from 20 different countries, not just in EU, globally. And this is the aggregation which we did, and it's you can think the 30,000 is important, and it is important, but I think it's much more important to pinpoint which one are in the focus of customers' head, and I think that's where we can help.
Mm-hmm. And 150,000 a month is a lot. You know, just to give you an idea of the magnitude, you know, 1.7 million people read these articles that we put out on safe or scam entities this year. So here's us hoping that, you know, the number of people that we are saving from scams is in the hundreds of thousands. But before I get too lyrical, I suggest we cut to the chase and we go a bit deeper into the findings of the research, and I pass it on to Zoli.
Thank you very much, Edith. First, maybe a few words about why our approach to this problem is different from what the rest of the industry is doing in this space. So we decided not to talk about the usual topics in this space, for example, the fraudulent tactics applied by these scammers, the monetary damages suffered by retail investors, or the magnitude of the problem in general. Instead, we decided to be a bit more specific by asking the research question, which are the most searched scams in Europe according to Google? And I also brought you some key insights falling out of our research. Out of the 30,000 entities in our database, we identified 67 with noticeable Google traffic originating from the European Union. We also found a heavy geographical concentration, mainly 5 EU member states account for almost 90% of the relevant search volume within the European Union. Further analyzing this Google traffic data, we have narrowed down this list to the 10 most visited scams by users within the European Union. By that I mean the 10 scams with the most Google search impressions originating from the European Union. If we go to the next slide, you can see the list itself. And maybe the first and most important criterion to be on our list was to appear on the regulatory warning list published by an established financial regulator. But in addition to that, we also conducted due diligence on each of these entities, aiming at verifying the availability and legitimacy of basic information. By basic information, I mean regulatory information, for example, which entity, in which jurisdictions, under what kind of licenses they tend to operate. I mean also corporate information. So we looked into any identifiable legal entity information, foundation date information, contact information, or any other information available about these scammers with respect to their management, their ownership, their corporate structure, and the likes. We also looked into the legal information. By that I mean the key customer contracts, AML, KYC policies, and other relevant legal documentation available as well. And what we have found out in the aggregate, that in every single case, this basic information were either not available at all, or outright fake, or at least very suspicious. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoli. So if you go back one slide, we see that we see the 5 most targeted countries, and looking at them, you know, these are some of the most developed, affluent countries in the European Union. Is it because of the wealth concentration in these countries that scammers tend to focus more on these regions? What is our hypothesis here?
That is a very good question, Edith, and I think the answer is more complex than that. Household wealth can be one of the reasons why these countries are being targeted, but other reasons might be the sheer number of the population, I mean, the number of the potential victims for these scams, the susceptibility for tech, for crypto, for AI, with respect to the people living in these countries as well. So there are a number of reasons, and my answer is that the final reason is a variation of these different reasons.
I see. I want to turn to immediate edge for a moment here. Immediate edge is number 1 among the most visible scammers we identified. And as you can see in the second column, this company is on the warning list of 4 European regulators in the UK, in Germany, in Spain, and in the Netherlands. Still, these guys are out there operating and scamming people as we speak.
Exactly, that is correct. And it is a very, very good point, because that is why it is so important to tackle this problem from a different approach. Because with respect to immediate edge, if we look into the Google traffic data, we can see that the most users looking after immediate edge is coming from France. And I just checked the website of the regulator yesterday, and I found that the French regulator has not put immediate edge on its warning list yet. That's probably the reason why we're suggesting a different approach in tackling this problem.
That is really disconcerting, to say the least. So we know that France and Germany are the most targeted, and immediate edge tops the list of the most searched for entities in Europe. But really, one may ask, how do you guys know all this? Where is the data coming from? And this is where Dan comes into the picture.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk about how this research came about for 2 reasons. First, because it's unique, and second, because it also shows what more is possible. So what the data is, what is the data? The basis of the research is what we call search impression data. So you are familiar with Google, you type something into Google, results show up. When a result shows up, the website registers an impression. When something is shown. So this means that the amount of people saw a page on Google's results page. Okay, what page, you might ask people. So the page is an article on BrokerChooser, an article about the scam entities and the companies. These were seen over 1 million times in the first 6 months of 2024. And the article comes together from 2 main sources. One, as we mentioned, the public scam list of the regulators. And second, our legal assessment. Now, okay, how are they written still in this amount? So we have a technology to create written articles out of pure data. Based on this data from these two sources, we have generated about 30,000 pages, so one page for each of the entities on the scam lists, and we have translated them to over 60 languages. The other question I think naturally would pop up is, why is this data gathering process trustworthy? I will give two reasons. First, it's our own data reported by Google directly about our own pages. So in other words, it's not an estimation and it's not a public data. And the second is that this data closely matches the actual search amounts people do, because every single time someone searches for these entities, our page shows up in Google. So that's in a nutshell about how the data is coming together in the background.
And when we get this data from Google, I will later on ask you maybe to say 2 sentences how actually we garner the data from Google. But when we get the data from Google, we can see where an actual search originated from, which country.
Yeah, exactly. So Google gives website owners a tool that allows the website owners to see how they show up in Google, with what page, with what keywords, and in what countries. So we can use this data to slice and dice the way we want it. And we are not focusing on Europe. So this data is provided about our own website by Google.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Dan. And my colleague earlier said that during the survey period, which was actually the first 6 months of 2024, the 67 most active scammers generated 1.3 million searches. In our case, that means 1.3 million instances that someone in Europe sat down in front of Google and entered the name of one of these entities into the search bar. And that's a huge number, and it shows that it's a huge problem that we need to tackle more efficiently than it is tackled right now. And Linda will talk to you about the recommendations we have to make sure that these guys have less room to maneuver and less people to scam.
Yeah, we truly believe that the only effective way to prevent them is preventing scams before they even happen. So we need to focus on prevention. And we believe that there are 2 pillars for prevention. The first one is spotting, or I could say unmasking them. And I think we talked a lot about today already. But the second pillar is just as important, which is avoiding, meaning let's help retail investors avoid these scam-like entities. And we at BrokerChooser do have recommendations that points to this direction. And you can read our recommendations in our research. You can read it on this slide, but I would like to ask you to stop reading, because this is really much more than research. This is very personal for me, and I think for many of us at BrokerChooser. I hate to live in a world when we know that immediate edge is a scam. It is on the regulator's warning list, and it's still out committing crime and stealing retail investors' money. And what is even worse is that I believe that we could create a different world where this would not happen, or not on this magnitude. And please join me to the journey and imagine a world where, please go back to the previous slide. So in this world, if our recommendations go into life, in this world, on Google or any search engine, if you search for any of these scam entities, the engine warns you that it's suspicious. In this imaginary world, a retail investor cannot see an advertisement from these scam-like entities on social media because digital platforms don't let them advertise. In this world, if this investor tries to find the web page of this scam-like entity, they cannot, because domain hosting companies are not hosting the domains for these scam-like entities. Think about how much easier it would be to avoid scams in a world like this. And I know this all sounds like science fiction, but what our recommendations are based on, it's things that has precedent in other industries. So it's not something that's not achievable. And I would like to invite you to come join the fight and together achieve this. How can you join? Co-sign our research, make it from a BrokerChooser research to an industry-wide manifesto. And I would really like to thank many of you who already did agree to co-sign it. Thanks for that. The second thing you could help us with is boost public awareness. Share it on social media, share it with your network, invite us to your events, webinars, conferences. We are happy to talk about it and raise awareness. Thanks a lot. Many of you already joined forces with us. And third but not least, these changes and this science fiction cannot be achieved only by us. We need to lobby for change, and we need to talk to policymakers and regulators to make this happen. So we are happy if you introduce us as experts and we can talk to them, but we are of course also happy if you can advocate for these changes. So please think about how could you join the fight, what would be convenient and easy for you, and send us an email to safeinvesting@brokerchooser.com, and let's fight together.
Wow, thank you, Linda. So just a thought on our recommendations, like, am I right in assuming that we target various organizations and authorities with our recommendations? I mean, target is not a very good word here, rather address these recommendations to various organizations and authorities, right?
Yeah, absolutely correct, Edith, because when I say that search engines should warn, then it involves search engines, and based on the regulatory warning lists, they would know what entities to warn about. Or is the same about digital platforms, social media platforms. They should also work together with regulators and or with BrokerChooser and concentrate on which are the entities that are not allowed to advertise on their sites, and the same with the domain hosting companies. So yes, many players need to act on it. And last but not least, all of us can raise public awareness, and that also is a very important part to inform European investors to gather information before they invest.
Mm-hmm. Linda, here's a trick question for you. If, let's say, we have a representative of an NGO here in the midst of the audience, which we know is the case, by the way. So what would you say? How can they benefit from joining the fight, from joining ranks with BrokerChooser and stepping up the fight?
Yeah, maybe I would start with benefiting on a personal level, because I think, at least let's talk about myself. This is my drive, and I know that we talk with many of NGOs, and I know that that's their drive. They want to do good, and that's one thing that we can create impact, and that's important. On the second thing, if we look at it more from a business point of view, of course, raising awareness, being part or a co-signer or a partner in this research is something which could be beneficial for an NGO as well. And also, we would like to do some digital PR campaign, which will also help raising awareness. And when we do that, of course, all the partners who co-signed the white paper will be mentioned during this PR campaign.
Thank you very much, Linda. I would have other questions as well, but we have questions from the audience, and I do not want to take the time from them. So here we go with the Q&A session. And this is the first question. Could we expand the scope of this research to include other countries? In other words, could we do another research on another region?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was very laconic then.
I think so. We can expand and we can also zoom. So the aim of the exercise was first to capture it on an EU level. Of course, it definitely makes sense to look at other countries. We're global, so we have a right view on practically almost every country. So where you have where you have Google, where we have data, and we could go from Malaysia to, I don't know, Chile. And the other part is not just expanding, but really zooming in one specific country and coming up with insights, as Zoltán said. Look, here this potential scam or scam entity, which is not on your warning list, but it's on the warning list of other regulators. And these are the ones who mostly target your citizens.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we can look closer under the hood. Thank you, Tibi. Here's another one. I think, Linda, this is probably addressed to you most likely. So what exactly does the co-signing process entail, and does it carry any kind of financial commitment?
No, it doesn't. As we mentioned, this is not the business part of our organization. We don't ask for your money. We put our energy and time into it, and we just want to strengthen this whole fight by your signature. So it doesn't include any money. What does it entail? Basically, we will appear your logo in the beginning of the research, saying that you're backing what we say in the research. And besides that, we ask you to put it on your webpage, link to BrokerChooser site, and help us sharing it on social media or any connections that you have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Seems to me we are a bit focused here on the money, but somebody is asking whether BrokerChooser has received any kind of financial support to put together this research.
Yes, from BrokerChooser. not from others. I mean, yeah, I don't want to take this lightly, but obviously this is a dedication of resources of BrokerChooser, which is an investment from our side, and I'm really proud of this. I think we're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we are pretty much out of questions, unless members of the audience can think of last-minute questions they want to submit. I have one on my own, and that would be, what do we as BrokerChooser plan to do to take this research further, and how do we call on others to boost awareness? What are we going to do ourselves to boost awareness to this research and the findings?
What we will do is that we start a PR campaign on this research, and we hope that with the PR campaign, we don't only meet NGOs and other and brokerage companies on the way, but also get to the retail investors and boost awareness on their side. This is one thing that we would like to do. What we cannot do at the moment is going to regulators and talk to them about our recommendations. We would be happy to, and we believe that we could add value there. And this is something that we hope from our partners or our future partners, that maybe they can help with that. And if we can talk to regulators, the change and the science fiction can become reality.
Thank you very much. And also, I think this concludes our webinar for today, unless there are really last minute questions, which I can't see popping up. And as a last word, I will pass the imaginary mic to Linda, who would like to say goodbye to all of you.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you. I know you have a lot on your table, and we are super happy that this is also important for you and for us. And let's keep in touch and fight together. Send us an email and let's talk. Thank you for coming.